What up? It's Leviticus Rich here. I want to share a kind of a story and a lesson I recently relearned, like literally last week. And I was thinking about this lesson. So the other week I went out to get gas at Costco. I almost never get gas at Costco, and I'll explain exactly why I don't get gas at Costco in just a minute. But I never get gas at Costco. This, for whatever reason lately, because my car takes premium gas, I was like, maybe it's a bit cheaper to get gas at Costco. So I went to Costco to get gas. I get there. I almost get hit like several times just getting into the line because everyone in Costco, for whatever reason in the parking lot, they drive like idiots. I don't understand it. So I finally get to the area. You know, like if you've ever been to Costco, you have to go up to like this huge gas area and there's a line to get there. I'm in the line. It's chaos. I wait about like 35 minutes to get gas. 35 minutes to get gas. So I'm sitting there. I finally get out. Usually one of my things that I try to do, I don't like to let my tank get to like E ever at all. Once it gets to about half, I try to fill it. The most I'll let it get to is about like a quarter, unless I'm driving around a lot and, you know, maybe I'm doing showings or something else and then it gets lower than a quarter. That's the exception. That almost never happens. I only like to let it get to a quarter, usually at the worst. So I think it's at like a middle of a quarter, a little bit over half is gone. Fill it up, and I think it cost me about $40. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I just waited in this line for like 35 minutes, and it cost me $40 to fill up my gas tank. Now, I'm usually the kind of person, if I drive around, if I need gas, I'm not that kind of guy who's like, oh, I need to go look for the cheapest prices. I need to go figure out like, oh, where's the gas? 5 or 10 cents cheaper around here. I don't like doing all that. It's a waste of time to me. Whenever I see a gas station, I just pull in and I get gas. That's just because the way I see it, if I'm going to spend time looking for the best prices and driving around trying to get to the best gas station, I'm already here at this gas station. Why am I going to go 5 miles away to that gas station? So I just go get the gas that's nearby. And I thought about it. I spent $40 on gas at Costco. Anywhere else under the same circumstance, it's probably about the same anyway. Maybe a little bit more, maybe $45, maybe $50. But does it really matter? Like, I wasted literally half an hour in line for a $10, discount, a $10 reward. I got $10 out of that. Who cares? It's $10. And some people watching this are probably going to sit there and be like, oh, well, $10 can go a long way. I guarantee if you're sitting there, most of you people waste $10 on the regular. You probably go out, you probably eat food out often, you probably go out and drink, which is fine. I'm not saying those are bad things. I'm just saying most of you, if you're watching this, you probably spend dollars on stuff that you don't need anyway. So don't act like $10 is that big of a saving or that big of a discount. And so it made me think to myself, it made me relearn a lesson. The reason why I don't like to go to Costco. I don't like to go to Costco because the moment I went to Costco and saved $10, my time was worth $10 an hour. Like, just sit there and think about that for a second. Or at least it was half an hour was worth $10 an hour, or you know what I mean? So I'm just sit there and think about that for a second. Just sit there and think for a second. Let's just say it was an hour I was in line. Let's just say it was $20. Would you be willing to sit there and sacrifice an hour for $20, like voluntarily? If you could choose how much your time is worth, would you voluntarily want your time to be worth $20 an hour or $10 an hour, however you want to spin it? I would say for the most part, if you're watching this, the answer is probably no. You probably wouldn't want your time to be worth $10 or $20 an hour. Now, maybe you work at like McDonald's, or if you were like me in the past, a gas station or something like that, and maybe your time was worth that much or less. Fair enough. So maybe that $10 does go a long way. I would argue probably not, because I would say, realistically speaking, as a human being, you should by default value your time more than that. Sometimes the job that to me, the job you work at does not define how much your time is truly worth. Your job will always pay you less than what you are truly worth, in my opinion. But as a low metric, let's just say that your time is worth like $7, $8, $10, $20 an hour, whatever. Is it worth it? Like, did you really gain much from that? Is that $10, at least in my part, what's that $10 going to do? Nothing. I mean, I guess you can buy like a nice meal, go to McDonald's, get, 2 McDoubles and a medium fry, my go-to meal at McDonald's. Spend a little bit under $10. Does it help? Does it do much? Does it change my life? No, not at all. buy a few things of candy. With inflation going up, you might not be able to buy that in like a year or two. So I don't know. The reason why I made this video, because the lesson I kind of learned from going to Costco is that it doesn't always make sense to go out of your way to get the little discounts or the little savings. I feel like by doing that, you almost devalue your own time. And my personal opinion, and if you've listened to any of my content or watched any of my content before at all, you know that I think the thing people should value the most out of everything in life, everything, is time, because you can't get that back. You can get money back. You might lose friends. You can find more friends. Material possessions, they don't mean much because you can lose those. You can always replace any material possession, basically. Pretty much everything else is replaceable, but you cannot replace time. So that is sort of the lesson I learned at Costco. And I want to kind of tell a second story, mostly because it just kind of came up in relation to gas stations, and I thought this was kind of funny. I was sitting there one time. I used to work, for those of you that don't know, I used to work at a gas station called Snappy's back when I was in college at Penn State. And I remember this one night, like this lady came in and we had this like card, like this discount card that you can put into the machine. And it was supposed to give you like 25 cents off per gallon or something like that, like 10 cents off per gallon. And if you did it outside, it was weird. Like if you did it outside, it almost never works. People would always come in and complain. We'd tell like the owner and he would never fix it. That's what it is. But I remember this one night, like this lady, she's outside, she's pumping her gas. She only got like 2 gallons, something like that, like 2.5 gallons, not that much. And she comes in and she's freaking out. She's like, oh, I used my discount card and I didn't get my discount. So I'm pissed off and I want you to put the gas back in my pump. And I'm just sitting there. I'm like, because one thing I want to point this out, when you work in like retail or stuff like that, and this is not me being mean, this is just me being honest, you will meet the stupidest, dumbest people who argue about the dumbest stuff. And I know if you've ever worked in retail, you know exactly what I mean. People argue about and complain about the most ridiculous things. So this lady's complaining. She's like, oh, my discount card didn't work. I didn't get my discount. So I'm sitting there and I do the math. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, with your 2 gallons, you only got 25 cents off anyway. That's what you would have gotten had the card worked. Do you really care about that? Are you going to really invest time and stress to come in and argue with me about 25 cents? So I remember I was sitting there and I was like, I try my best when I'm working to like not be pissed off at people. Like I try to hold it in. It's like internal meditation. It's kept me in a very calm state 99% of the day, even though people are morons half the time. Not all people, but when you're working in retail, a lot of people that come in are morons. I'm not being mean, just being honest. So I'm sitting there. I remember I opened the register and I was like, look, this lady's pissing me off. I was like, do you want the discount, ma'am? She's like, yes, either that or put the gas back in my pump. So I take 25 cents from the till and I give it to her. And I was like, here you go. That's your discount. Because that's what she would have gotten. She would have gotten like 25 cents off her gas had the discount card worked. So the point I'm just trying to make is that be cautious of the value of your time. Always try to evaluate your time and evaluate it appropriately. Definitely make sure you're valuing your time higher than what your job values your time. That's pretty much the main message. One of the lessons I kind of relearned, because I've known this for a while. Some things, like if you ask me, for people who know me, there's one of my things I like to do is like the idea of speed, or just doing things quickly and not wasting time thinking about stuff too much. Even if something costs a little bit more on the front end, I'm just like, if it saves me time from like going to all these different places, researching all the stuff, let's just do it. Let's just spend the money here because I already know what this is. I don't need to go investigating everything else because the amount of time it takes me to look at everything else is wasteful. I would have already gotten what I wanted and been happy with the decision I currently made instead of looking at every single option. Then you get paralyzed by analysis and all kinds of nonsense. Long story short of this rant, of this like 10-minute rant we're coming up on, value your time more. Don't waste time. Most of the things people will tell you is time saving or a discount is probably not. Just make decisions, do it quickly, cut the bullshit. That's my rant. Peace.